Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay. So, good evening again. I'm Lena Patsidou. I'm the president of the Hellenic Professional Society of Texas this year. On behalf of the Society and the Hellenic Cultural Center of Southwest, I welcome you to the celebration of the Greek poet Cavafys Cavafy. The Greek Ministry of Culture designated 2013 as the Cavafy year in order to commemorate one of the most influential literary figures produced by Greece in the early 20th century. UNESCO also participates in this celebration, recognizing that Cavafy was instrumental in establishing modern Greek poetry on the international scene. The Hellenic Professional Society of Texas co-sponsored this evening with the Hellenic Cultural Center of the Southwest, and we thank them very much for their help and support. The mission of the Society is to bring the rich heritage and culture of our homeland to Houston, our new home. The poetry readings is one of these traditions that goes back to the Society's inception about 40 years ago. For the last 15 years, Dr. Alex Kalamarides, and I salute himself, presented, along with Dr. Dimitri Barbaresos and Mrs. Katerina Kantogiorgaki, have presented memorable evenings dedicated to Greek poets or themes in Greek poetry. They have been approaching the Greek poetry with love and respect. We're grateful for their outstanding work and their contributions to the Society's program, and we're looking forward to tonight's presentation. Before we start, a few other things. I would like to acknowledge a couple of people that helped a lot and took care of many details. George and Julieta Zombakis were very instrumental in this evening. We're also very fortunate to be able to host these events in this beautiful auditorium, which was thanks to the efforts and kind support from Professor Lydia Kavraki of the Computer Science Department here at Rice. And before we start, I would like to introduce Mr. Yanni Remediaki, the president of the Hellenic Cultural Center, who would like to say a few things also. And another announcement, please silence your phones so that we enjoy the evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. On behalf of Hellenic Cultural Center of Southwest, I would like to welcome every one of you to this exceptional evening where the Greek poetry is in Houston. I'd like to thank you, Dr. Alex Kalamarides, personally for all the work he has done, as well as all the rest of those people that Mrs. Patsidou already mentioned. And I'd like to, in general, invite all of you to all the events we will be having this coming year, 2014. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for coming tonight. This is Alex Kalamarides. Before we start, a couple of dedications for some recent passings. This event is dedicated to three people. The memory of my good friend, Miss Lorraine Harris, the memory of Dimitri's mother, Maria, and of course to the memory of our brilliant member and community pillar, Professor Michael Economides. Constantine Cavafy, the famous Greek poet, born on April 29, 150 years ago in Alexandria, Egypt, is of course the subject of today's commemorative event. It is with honor, pride, and a sense-filling joy that we, members of the Hellenic Professional Society of Texas, the Hellenic Cultural Center of the Southwest, and other admirers of Cavafy, are presenting the poet to you tonight. We are bringing to you our one favorite of many long evenings of poetry devoted to him, remarkable in themselves at an era and a culture in which poetry has been so neglected, and testament to the extraordinary appeal of his art. A Greek gentleman in a straw hat, standing absolutely motionless at a slight angle to the universe. This is how iconic English writer E.M. Forster, one of his earliest fans who visited him in Alexandria, described the poet. Cavafy spent most of his life in Alexandria, and that is where he wrote his poems. Cavafy was the youngest child in an old family of wealthy Greek merchants from Constantinople, who moved to cotton-rich Egypt to partake in the economic growth that was spurred by the long-lasting rise in cotton prices in the aftermath of the American Civil War. The family had economic interests in England, where he went to school, and he also spent time in France and Constantinople, becoming a member of the cosmopolitan Greek diaspora of his time. But Alexandria, the long-lasting city built by Alexander the Great, where Egypt meets the Mediterranean, was his home. The property of his family eventually declined, and so he worked as a civil servant in the irrigation service until 1922, 11 years before his death. His life in a small apartment and mundane work afforded him the time to research Hellenistic and Byzantine history, which served as the inspiration for much of his poetry. He died of throat cancer on his birthday in 1933 at the age of 70. Three elements shaped Cavafy's poetry: Alexandria, his family, and the culture of Greece, which he discovered through a deep fascination with the classical, Hellenistic, and early Christian world. These three elements provided the common thread that was to underlie his creations: the notion of decline. The first element, Alexandria, his city, has an unusual place in world history. In the centuries that followed classical Greece and Alexander the Great, called the Hellenistic era between the 3rd and 1st centuries before Christ, Alexandria was nothing less than the undisputed center of the world for letters, sciences, and commerce. The city of the Ptolemies and Cleopatra, Alexandria was the site of the library, a very important center for scientific learning in antiquity, the place where the first steam engine was constructed and where the radius of the Earth was first calculated accurately. It was also the site of the magnificent lighthouse, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, under whose shadow the Old Testament was translated into Greek. This little detail reveals the crucial role of Alexandria as the center for the dispersion of the Greek language, which had at that time and beyond, in the era of Jesus, the same role in the world as English has today, and became the language of the Gospels. At the time of Cavafy, though, Alexandria, a vastly colonial enclave of Europeans in the Arab world, was already a decadent shadow of its glorious past. In his family, the second element, economic decline resulted from his father's passing when Cavafy was only 7, and it was accompanied by other misfortunes. He was 19 in 1882, when the whole family, including his mother and 6 older brothers, had to leave Alexandria, penniless, to escape Arab revolt and subsequent British bombardment. They left for Constantinople, present-day Istanbul, where his mother's wealthy father, Georgakis Fotiadis, offered them refuge at the leafy outskirts of the city. As they were leaving for Constantinople, the young Cavafy wrote in his diary, "Ill luck. what in Greek we call mousousia, was always considered to be a defining factor in the fate of our household. And no self-respecting bearer of the Cavafy name can invoke it without dread. They stayed there at today's Yeniköy, Hori in Greek, by the Bosphorus, for a couple of years until most of them, including our poet and his mother, returned to Alexandria when Pax Britannica was re-established in the city. Cavafy retained fond, romantic memories of Constantinople his whole life, and he was very proud of his aristocratic Phanariot roots, which he investigated and exposed through extensive forays into his familial genealogy through the years. Nevertheless, Cavafy had to witness and endure many deaths in his family, in many cases premature ones, without the compensating birth of a new generation to carry on. It is significant that from among the 6 brothers, no descendants exist in our day, and the poet's frank homosexuality sealed his own legacy as purely artistic. Coming to the third element that shaped Cavafy, the culture of Greece. Alexander's conquests had spread it around the world, making Greek the international medium and standard of communication and style for many centuries. However, the culture of Greece had also lost its dominant position in the world by his time. A fact Cavafy, a proud citizen of modern Greece, had to contend with. To underscore the importance of Greece for Cavafy, it is worth pointing out that back in Alexandria, the poet was offered the prestigious British nationality, which he declined in favor of being registered as a citizen of the state of Greece. Moreover, starting in 1891, Cavafy wrote many articles and letters in English language media, making the case for the return of the Elgin marbles from the British Museum in London back to the Acropolis of Athens. In my reckoning, he may have been one of the first, if not the very first, Greek to take up this still unsettled cause. The decline that characterizes Alexandria, Cavafy's family, and Greece, these 3 shaping elements of his poetry, rather than forcing him to a perpetual lament or breeding escapism, actually led him to face himself, to acquire wisdom. No single poem better illustrates this than the famous Waiting for the Barbarians. We will read this poem in Greek with its English translation on the screen behind us. After reading the poem, our Cavafy-inspired musicians, Thomas Elton and Shinjun Tsai, will perform a short piece so as to allow us to reflect on the poet's well-worn verses.
Περιμένοντας τους βαρβάρους. Τι περιμένουμε στην αγορά συναθρισμένη?
Είναι οι βάρβαροι να έρθουν σήμερα.
Γιατί μέσα στη Σύγκλιτο μια τέτοια απραξία? Τι κάθονται οι συγκλητικοί και δεν νομοθετούνε?
Γιατί οι βάρβαροι θα φτάσουν σήμερα. Τι νόμους πια θα κάνουν οι συγκλητικοί? Οι βάρβαροι σαν έρθουν θα νομοθετήσουν.
Γιατί ο αυτοκράτορ μας τόσο πρωί σηκώθη και κάθεται στις πόλεως την πιο μεγάλη πύλη, στο θρόνο επάνω, επίσημος φορώντας την κορώνα?
Γιατί οι βάρβαροι θα φτάσουν σήμερα και ο αυτοκράτορ περιμένει να δεχθεί τον αρχηγό τους. Μάλιστα, ετοίμασε για να τον δώσει μια περγαμηνή. Εκεί τον έγραψε τίτλους πολλούς και ονόματα.
Γιατί οι δυο μας ύπατοι γιατί βραχιόλια φόρεσαν με τόσους αμεθύστους και δαχτυλίδια με λαμπρά για αριστερά σμαράγδια.
Γιατί οι βάρβαροι θα φτάσουν σήμερα και τέτοια πράγματα θα μπώνουν τους βαρβάρους.
Γιατί και οι άξιοι ρήτορες δεν έρχονται σαν πάντα να βγάλουνε τους λόγους τους, να πούνε τα δικά τους.
Γιατί οι βάρβαροι θα φτάσουν σήμερα και αυτοί βαριούνται φράδειες και δημιουργίες.
Γιατί να αρχίσει μόνο μιας αυτή η ανησυχία και η σύγχυσης. Τα πρόσωπα, τι σοβαρά που έγιναν. Γιατί αδειάζουν γρήγορα οι δρόμοι και οι πλατείες και όλοι γυρνούν στα σπίτια τους πολύ συλλογισμένοι.
Γιατί ενύχτωσε και οι βάρβαροι δεν ήρθαν. Και μερικοί έφτασαν από τα σύνορα και είπανε πως βάρβαροι πια δεν υπάρχουν.
Και τώρα, τι θα γίνουμε χωρίς βαρβάρους. Οι άνθρωποι αυτοί ήσαν μια κάποια λύση.